Hi everyone, it's Miss Terry from the Leicester Public Library, and I'm so excited that you're interested in becoming a member of the 2022 Battle of the Books team. This is sponsored by the Manitowoc-Calumet Library System, and there are 5 libraries that participate: the Manitowoc Public Library, the Leicester Public Library in Two Rivers, the New Holstein Public Library, the Brillion Public Library, and the Chilton Public Library. The best way to get involved is to start reading this summer and to contact your local library about when their team practices. Now, we've chosen 6 books this year for the battle, which takes place on Wednesday, September 7th at 6:30 p.m. at the Manitowoc Public Library, and typically teens travel with their teams to the night of the program. So again, contact your local library for more information about that. But we're going to be reading 6 books, 3 regular books and 3 graphic novels, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about each one. This first book is called Pahua and the Soul Stealer by Lori M. Lee, and this is one of the Rick Riordan Presents. Rick Riordan is the author of The Lightning Thief, so if you really like action-packed sci-fi fantasy adventures, you will enjoy this. One thing that's unique about this story also is that it follows Hmong culture and folklore, which we don't really get to see a lot of, so it's a very interesting take on those stories. And Pahua is kind of an odd girl. She doesn't have a lot of friends. It doesn't help that she kind of has this invisible cat that follows her around. It's really her best friend. She sometimes talks to it in public, but nobody else can see it. So she's kind of labeled as a little bit odd, a little bit strange. But then a new girl comes to school, and Pahua is very excited because she doesn't know that Pahua is a little bit odd, and she's hoping that she can make a new friend. Unfortunately, what this new friend doesn't know is that Pahua can see spirits, and her cat is actually one of those spirits. And in trying to make friends, Pahua ends up untethering an angry spirit that starts to follow her around and actually attaches to the soul of her brother, making him very ill. And Pahua realizes that she's going to have to start to kind of embrace this power that she has and learn more about it in order to save her brother. And that might also include going into the spirit realm itself. So it's called Pahua and the Soul Stealer. Again, action-packed fantasy adventure. Riley's Ghost is our horror story for the summer for the battle this year, and this is about a girl named Riley who's a vegetarian. She's in 7th grade, going to middle school, which is not always easy. Her best friend Emily, unfortunately, has kind of started hanging out with some of the bullies at school, and Riley gets bullied quite a bit because she doesn't really conform to what everybody thinks what being cool and popular means. And she ends up getting in an altercation with another boy at school when she refuses to dissect a frog in science class. And things kind of go horribly wrong, and she ends up getting locked in the science supply closet long past when school is over. She eventually does get out of the closet, but she realizes that she's stuck in the school. The clocks seem to have stopped. The doors and windows won't open. None of the phones are working, and she starts to hear things. So again, this is a little bit on the creepy side. And Riley realizes that there are 2 ghosts that are inhabiting the school that kind of have some unresolved past between the 2 of them as well. And Riley needs to figure out what she's going to do to maybe help these ghosts move past the troubles that they're having in order for her to get out of this situation. Again, it's a little bit on the creepy side. It's called Riley's Ghost. Northwind is by Gary Paulsen. Unfortunately, it was published after he passed away, and Gary Paulsen is known for his outdoor survival adventure stories, and this one is no different. This follows a young boy named Leaf who is currently living as an orphan in a fishing village when a deadly plague comes and makes everyone quite sick. Well, one of the old fishermen, his name is Carl, sends Leaf and another young boy off in a canoe and says, just paddle north, try to find clean air and get away from this sickness. And unfortunately, the sickness does follow them, and Leaf and his companion end up both getting very, very sick, and his companion doesn't make it, leaving Leaf pretty much on his own in this canoe in the wild trying to survive. And it doesn't help that there's bears along the shoreline. He does get involved with some very nasty ocean currents, and he's really just in this little canoe as he's trying to survive. So if you like outdoor stories, you're going to enjoy this. If you like survival stories, you're going to enjoy this, and it's actually a very action-packed quick read as well. So it's called Northwind by Gary Paulsen. So those are the 3 regular books. Let's look at the graphic novels. This first one is called Yummy, A History of Desserts. It's written again in graphic novel format, and it's exactly what it says it is. It's a nonfiction story that talks about where all of our favorite desserts come from, starting out with a full-blown chapter on the history of ice cream. Who was the first to freeze it? And how did that come about? Especially when we didn't have ice. How did that work? How did they make cold ice cream? And then it also talks about the mistake that discovered brownies, which is a very interesting read. A kind of a history of pies. Where did apple pies start from, and how did it become an American favorite? And there's a lot of interesting facts about all the sweets that you love. One of the things that's neat about this book, it talks about treats from all over the world, not just specific to America. So that's called Yummy, A History of Desserts. The Curie Society is another action-packed sci-fi adventure, and it's about 3 college freshmen who are attending a school called Edmonds University, and they're very, very different, but they're going to have to come together in order to solve the mystery that takes place in this book. There's Simone, who's actually a girl genius. She's starting college at the age of 15, so she's always trying to be a little overeager, trying to find friends and fit in. And then there's Taj, who's really more interested in robots and circuits than people. And then there's Maya, whose parents have extremely high expectations for her, and she's kind of dealing with that on top of trying to go to school. Well, the 3 girls end up getting a secret message that's been encoded, and once they decipher it, they find themselves invited to a group called the Curie Society, which looks at women in science and tries to make sure that women remain prominent. Well, unfortunately, a lot of the research that the Curie Society has been working on has been stolen, and the girls decide that they're going to try to solve the mystery of what is happening and where it is going so that they can protect this very important group. It's called the Curie Society. And then the last one we're reading this year is called Quincredible. This is definitely a good read-alike for fans of the Marvel Universe, Spider-Man and all of those superheroes. And this is about Quinn, who is living in New Orleans, really kind of, it's after Hurricane Katrina, but New Orleans is still trying to get back on its feet when another disaster strikes in the form of a meteor shower. And it's not just a regular meteor shower, it actually imbues ordinary citizens with superhero powers. Now Quinn, his power is invincibility, which he doesn't really think is that great, because basically all it means is that when he gets beat up by the bullies, it doesn't hurt as much and he'll recover. So he's not really finding much value in it, but his city is still in a lot of trouble and he loves New Orleans. And one day he and his family are at a rally when they are attacked, and Glow, who is another superhuman, sees Quinn and realizes that Quinn might be able to help them kind of become a part of this crime-fighting group that's trying to get New Orleans back on its feet. So this is called Quincredible, Volume 1, Quest to be the Best. Number 2 is already out, and I'm sure we're going to see number 3 soon. So hopefully you find a book that you might be interested in. Just remember, you don't have to read all 6 books to be a member of the team, because you really do compete as a team in a trivia-style tournament, again, on Wednesday, September 7th at 6:30 p.m. So if any of those books sounded good and you think you'd like to be a part of your library's team, again, just contact your local library or click on the form that's a part of the virtual library that maybe you're watching this video from, and you can fill out the form and they will get in contact with you. Thanks.